The idea of home has a special meaning for everyone. I was born in Vancouver, but recently in the past, I've been visiting Hong Kong more frequently. My repeated trips to Hong Kong have made it a city I now regard as my second home. In these series of interviews, I ask my close friends who have all been to Hong Kong before what their stories are, how they view Vancouver in comparison to Hong Kong, and how they define what the idea of home is.
I think Vancouver is a lot, like I'm going to say better, but better in terms of having a balanced lifestyle. It's a better place to, again, like you can jog around, your neighborhood, and you're not, it's not overcrowded. You still have you still have pretty accessible food. You still have pretty accessible things. It's still a good city. It's still a big city. You still have pretty decent public transit, even though people complain about it a lot. But it's it's a lot better of a balance. In Hong Kong, even though everything's super efficient, tax rates are lower and stuff like that, I feel like it's a little too crowded for me. It's a very densely populated location, and you don't really get a chance to have, like a place to relax, I would say.
I think they're like very, very two different. Wait. I think they're two really completely different cities, in my opinion. Just like I said, the vibes that everyone brings out, like the hustle of the city is a little bit similar, except in Hong Kong it's a lot more like it's a lot more hustle than Vancouver. And Vancouver's a little bit more chill, and just like the culture there is different from here.
Would you say that your home resides back in Hong Kong or here in Vancouver?
For me, both Hong Kong and Vancouver are my home. I have spent most of my life here in Vancouver, having gone to school here and attending Simon Fraser University for school. But Hong Kong is my home as well. Generally growing up, I would spend maybe a month of the year, every year in Hong Kong. But it seems that what I've seen from my friends and other people is that after you've been in a city for a lot of your life, you want something new. And I feel like I would want to settle down in Hong Kong for a little bit, at least in my 20s and 30s while I'm still young, because I feel that's a city that offers more opportunities and where I believe I would really enjoy living there, at least for now. And maybe potentially coming back to Vancouver. It is also my home down the road in the future.
Have you ever regarded Hong Kong as your home?
To be honest, no. Hong Kong is my parents' home. Whenever I go there, I try to understand, this is where my parents grew up. But it doesn't really give me, it gives me a sense of understanding how they live their lives, but it doesn't really make me feel like it's home. It's so drastically different from Vancouver. And whenever I go to Hong Kong, I only go there for a few weeks. So the quick answer is no. I wouldn't consider it my second home, but more of a place to, reminisce about how my parents lived.
Emily, if I'm correct, your parents are from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
After going there for the first time, did you experience an emotional connection to the city?
I actually kind of did. My parents weren't there when I visited, but my dad's mom, my grandma, brought me around, and he showed me a bunch of landmarks where my dad grew up in, like his elementary school, his high school, where he frequented. And it's just like, even though I've never been to these places before and only have heard about them, or I've never even seen them even, but like being there and knowing my dad used to, frequent those places really, I don't know, it kind of hit me. In a good way, obviously, but yeah, even though like I didn't have a sense of Hong Kong before, it felt like kind of like already a second home to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen Hong Kong as home just because every time I go there, I never felt like someone treated me as someone other than someone who has been to Hong Kong. The fact that I've been raised by people who've been to Hong Kong in both my parents' side, I think even though if I've never been to Hong Kong, I would still feel like a little bit part of it, because they teach you the way that they have been brought up, and in a sense, that's how I've been brought up.
I think to me, home is where my family is, where the people I love is, where my friends are. Because let's say my family just happened to move for some reason, like to, I don't know, some place, other place like Australia or whatever, or anywhere, I would still feel at home because my family's there, my friends are there. It's fine. So the city or area per se doesn't really matter as much as the people that live in it.
So I consider both Vancouver and Hong Kong my home because I have that network in both cities. But I'm the type of person who likes going to new places and would like to live in a new place, a few new places actually, while I'm still young. And I feel like you can go anywhere, and if you put yourself out there and meet people, you can adapt and consider other places your home if you have that inclination in you.
I think home is a place of comfort. Although, like, throughout my life, I hope to, be uncomfortable and, go step beyond, my boundaries and stuff like that. I think home is a place where it is within your boundaries. It is where you're, like I said, really comfortable, you're also very knowledgeable of where everything is.
My sense of a home is something where I felt like my part of, I guess, a huge part of my life would have been dedicated to that area. So I think home doesn't relate to just location, doesn't relate to just, your physical surrounding. But home could be like in this moment, in this interview where I'm like interviewing with you, just because I've known you for, my whole life pretty much. That in a sense is building home because it's something that I've imagined before. I feel completely free about communicating anything that I want to say. And it's something that I guess represents a huge part of your life. So in my opinion, anything that's home, I would even consider school my home because a lot of my life is spent there. It's an area that I don't feel too much pressure on just because of, I guess, I've explored the difficult hardships of each area. And when you put into perspective in the traditional sense of like a place, such as Vancouver or Hong Kong, I've been able to see, the bad sides, the good sides, mixing them together, then you get a sense that, hey, I've been in this place, I know what it is, I know the ups and downs, and I feel comfortable in it. So I think home is, I guess, defined as something that you find comfort in and something that you genuinely feel like you deserve to be there.
For me, home is a place that is able to reveal who you are the most. And I think that home is somewhere where you've had a lot of significant experiences in your life. Vancouver and Hong Kong are two cities that I consider home because I feel like through time being in those two places, I've grown so much as a person. But most of all, I think that home is a place where you feel like you belong there.